Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Hana. Thank you so much for watching. A lot of you guys might not know, but I actually am a physician associate in the United States. I practice medicine and I have training in psychiatry. Alongside that, I actually have my own personal life coaching business where I run a group coaching program for individuals who suffer from complex trauma, especially childhood trauma. So I thought it would be super interesting to go through the Muslim mental health tab on Reddit and just give some of my commentary, my advice, and hopefully it is helpful for anyone out there who is struggling. I myself have had quite the journey with my mental health. I know it can be something that is very difficult to talk about. It honestly can be really difficult to find resources to even navigate it. And so, I'm just here to offer some of my expertise and hopefully it is something that you guys find supportive and helpful. So let's jump right into it. So this is the Muslim Mental Health Support Group, and it was created 4 years ago. It doesn't seem to be super crazy active, but let's see. This is someone. Do you think bad breath is caused by sihr? This is not a mental health question, but no, there are lots of other things, medical advice here. If you're super concerned about it, go talk to your dentist. Sometimes there are lots of different things that can contribute to it, but it's not a mental health issue. Let's see. Any maladaptive daydreamers here? No comments on this thread, but maladaptive daydreaming can very easily be disassociation, which is a very common reaction for people who are struggling with or suffering from trauma. It's basically the act of disconnecting from your conscious state of mind. And I call it, the way I describe it, because I used to suffer with this a lot, is going into the back room in my mind. So if you're struggling with this, a lot of times it is due to some sort of trauma that has not been properly processed. And that is something you're going to kind of want to navigate, because otherwise you'll continue with the maladaptive daydreaming. Okay, this one seems like a good one. Assalamu alaikum. I need help and advice. I am a revert in the UK countryside, meaning he converted to Islam. Congratulations. I am 20 years old and won't be welcomed by my parents in my parents' home any longer if they find out my faith. I will have no home. I know it's a sin to lie, and I'm sure hiding the truth is equal to a lie. The trouble is I live with my parents and haven't gotten enough money to move out, so I could get a tent, but even then I won't be able to upkeep myself properly, as I'm only a part-time job waiting for promotion to full-time. I love my family, but they have displayed their objectives to Islam clearly for years. They're Christian, although they do not attend church or pray or give up anything for Lent. I've said my Shahada alone properly one day before Ramadan and testified God is the true God worthy of worship. Continuing on, my question is, what am I to do in a situation where I can only think of two options to do: tell the truth and be homeless, unable to have access to the Quran, my prayer mat, and prayer book, or lie to them and be knowingly sinning? I don't have a masjid nearby, and I don't know any other Muslims whatsoever. Everyone in my community is anti-Muslim. I found the light, and I am surrounded by darkness. Inshallah, I figure out a solution soon. Man. Oh, Lord. That's hard. First of all, to whoever is writing this, I'm like so proud of you for making the decision. I was born Muslim. I know so many people who are born Muslims, and we do not have this level of ghira, of like protectiveness over our faith. And so that's just truly inspiring. Mental health wise, right? So this is a mental health question, but he's asking for advice. I'm just going to give you advice on this. From a faith perspective, what you are doing is not considered a lie. Doing something to protect your well-being to this extent, like to make sure you have a safe place to live and that you're not homeless, is not a lie. This is something that a lot of reverts, converts go through. You're definitely not alone in this. And I hope maybe you can find another, I'm sure there's a Reddit like for converts, and you can kind of connect with them as well. But my advice to you in a situation like this is to basically do not display your faith outwardly. Continue to maintain your obligations in private. As long as you have it in your heart that you are Muslim and you are maintaining your obligations as best as possible, then you are fine. You're okay. This was something that the Muslims of the Prophet's time had to navigate and deal with, right? In Mecca, when they would quite literally be tortured if they came out and said that they were Muslim. So they were allowed to basically protect or hide their faith while maintaining their obligations. you are in a similar situation, at least the modern version of this situation. And so don't put yourself in a situation where you end up homeless. Keep working, get that full-time job, keep saving up. Eventually, when you have the opportunity and you can save up enough, you can move out. When you move out, you know, I even wouldn't necessarily tell your parents at that time that you're Muslim, but move out, maintain a good relationship with your family. That's such an important part of our deen, and let them see what it is like, the way you treat them, the way you speak to them, that character, that Muslim character. Let them see that, and hopefully it will soften their heart. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften their heart, and eventually when you are on your own and living, you can make it clear to them that you have converted at that point and kind of decide how to move forward from there. I hope that was helpful. Mentally ill Muslim, I feel this so much. This was 4 months ago. I just want to vent a bit and hear some of your experiences. Know if I'm the only one, and many find some tips. The thing is, no one talks about how hard it is to go against every fiber of your being, to the point you feel like you're dying because you choose logic and you choose your religion. I can't be the only one who just finds it so hard to live on day to day, even while being Muslim. And if you express this to non-Muslims, they just say get closer to God. And if you express it to non-Muslims, they don't get why you're doing all of it. I don't know, though. I just want to hear other Muslims' experiences. Oh my gosh, why didn't anyone reply to this? This is such a good post. I can relate to this so hard, even though, alhamdulillah, my mental health is not where it used to be at all. There comes a point where, yes, you truly do choose going through the motions and not doing anything crazy because you're Muslim and you know that it wouldn't be pleasing to God. And you just maintain your obligations to God. And the way, like, I see it, the way that I always kept it in my mind when I was going through the worst of depression, when my anxiety was at the worst, was regardless of where I am mentally, God still has his rights upon me, and I need to fulfill those rights. Those rights have to be fulfilled whether I'm excited doing it or whether I'm depressed doing it. And I'm going to do that. You commit to that because you're committing to something higher. You're a Muslim first and foremost. And because of that, you believe in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of that, you don't have any other option but to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that he asks to be glorified, through his salah, through the way you treat other people, right? Through the charity you give, all of these things. That's one. Two is mental illness by its nature is not supposed to be like statistically significant, meaning majority of people are not going to be suffering it. A substantial percent of the population is going to suffer with it, but not everyone. So when she's talking about, I'm assuming you're she, so when he or she, whoever it is talking about speaking to other Muslims and they just say get closer to God, it's likely that a lot of those Muslims either A, don't have mental health issues, so they just simply can't empathize. It's not because they're trying to be dismissive or hateful. And that was something I really had to like understand when I was going through my stuff, was that just because people didn't know how to comfort you in that moment didn't mean that they were doing it out of disdain. They just truly didn't know. It's not their experience. It's very hard to understand mental illness if you have not experienced it yourself. That's one. Two is that maybe they're struggling mentally, but they haven't even identified that it's a mental health issue, which I've noted with so many people. It's like, it's funny. I'm a PA, so it's like I have this diagnostic side of my brain that's able to identify things very astutely. And sometimes I'll find people and I'm like, you have depression or you have an anxiety disorder, but they haven't come to the realization of that. And so sometimes they just don't know what to tell you because of that. Yes, it is extremely important that in this season of your life, when you're feeling low, and even if the season has lasted years and you're like, when is the season going to be over? I know the feeling. I promise you, I know the feeling. I remember how exhausting it was to be sitting there. Let me put my face on here. Like, I know how exhausting it was to quite literally be begging God in my prayer, let this be over, because I'm exhausted and I don't know how much longer I can go feeling this absolute nothingness and like feeling no joy and feeling like I have to drag myself out of bed to do everything. I remember that so vividly. And being close to God was one thing that now, again, on the other side of it, I can look back and say, I'm so grateful I never let that go, because like, what does that tell God? Where I was at my lowest, it was so hard for me to do basic things. It was so hard it's like hard to eat in that situation, hard to shower. But despite that, like above all of that, my priority was to worship God. So yes, closeness to God is so important, because also the greater thing of it is that one day at the end of your life, you are going to reap the benefit of all the reward that you got from that worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that season of your life. And you're going to be so grateful for it. I know you're not grateful for it now. I was not grateful for it. I was never the kind of person that was like, oh my God, how exciting. Like, romanticizing pain. I don't romanticize pain. I don't want to go back there. It was a very difficult time of my life. But again, I'm like, sometimes I think about it and I'm like, wow, I probably will never get that access to that level of reward again in my life, unless there's another extreme hardship that comes in. If it comes in, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to just make me strong enough to deal with it and to really limit it, because your girl was struggling. So my advice to you on how to navigate mental illness, and this is depression, I'm assuming you're talking about, because that's what it's reminding, that's the vibe that it's giving, is first and foremost, if you can get the resources, I know not everyone can access it, but like, please, if you can get therapy, get therapy. If you need medication, no shame in it. Listen, no shame in it. Sometimes you need that to kickstart. Sometimes you need it to get your brain right, so you can at least have a sense of like what it feels to have a semblance of normalcy, to do the other work that you need to do to help defy your basically defy the depression. Thirdly, there is an awesome YouTube video. I'm going to find it right now. Give me a second while I YouTube it, because it was this depression. It was a lecture by this researcher, and oh my gosh, I hope I can find it. I will tell you exactly. Here it is. It's called How to Recover from Depression. It is by the cyclopedia.org YouTube channel. So literally just go into YouTube and type in how to recover from depression. And it's going to be this like white professor, this man, he's a white man professor. He's wearing, it looks like a grayish brown suit, and he has a little like microphone. And he's in a lecture hall. You can tell he's in a lecture hall. That video was an absolute game changer for me in my journey. So I hope you guys benefit from that. All right, let's go back to okay. This one is God. 31-year-old female. I wish I could DIE daily. I feel I have wasted my 20s. For the past 10 years, my life has been filled with multiple social humiliations and useless education that has not helped me economically succeed. Also, I got diagnosed with scarring alopecia, which means I will likely be bald in 5 years. My female family members treat me badly and are unsupportive. My mother makes me feel like a huge burden due to my type 1 diabetes, and she prays that I never give birth and was actively trying to stop me from getting a fiance for the last 3 years. I wish I could die. Let's see what the comments say. Okay. Let's start this. If at any point you are actively feeling like you want to unalive yourself, the suicide hotline. I know you hear all the time, and it's like, oh, they're probably saying this because they're trying to cover their back. No, these are people that are trying to get you the resources that you need. And when you've hit that level of depression, like, you need help. You need to go find help. You need to go get it. So no one's going to get it for you. And I know that sucks, because it's like the last thing on your mind to do is like anything that requires that level of emotional effort, because it's so dang hard and you're already going through such a hard time. But it is very important to do that. Call 911 if you are actively like really in there where you feel like you're going to do that. Sometimes you're going to need medication to stabilize you, because if you can get to that level in your brain, there is like an extreme chemical issue that needs to be addressed. So that's one. Number two is this woman is this person said it, surrounded by toxic people. You are in an environment that is absolutely catastrophic for your mental health. There's no way to succeed in a situation where you're dealing with family abuse. This is trauma, by the way. This is childhood trauma because she probably has dealt with it for a very long time. That's one. Two is that you can tell just in the way that this was typed that there is a lot of self-loathing. There is a lot of what's the word that I was looking for? Oh my gosh, I lost the word. There's a lot of helplessness, right? And that when you get into a mindset of helplessness, it's like the only thing you can think about is going to be, I can't do anything. I just want it to end now. But part of treating even the most chronic of depression is recognizing that there is a level of agency. There is a level of agency that each and every single one of us have, even in the most difficult of situations. And I know it's hard to believe when you're at that level of depression. There was a point in time when I was at that level of depression, believe it or not. And I remember it's like, you couldn't have told me at that point, like there's things that I can do. But the reality of it is we have agency. There are things, even if they're super small, that we can do. There's something called a locus of control. So starting to identify very like teeny little things that you can do to do better for yourself is going to be important in just helping you step out of the helpless mindset. Because this is something, it's a psychological phenomenon called learned helplessness, right? When you've been burned so many times, you just stop trying because you expect you're just going to get burned again. Why would I try? Right. And so that's one. I feel I have wasted my 20s. It's like, as I'm looking at this as I guess you can call me a mentally healthy person now, I'm seeing all of the like logical fallacies in it, right? I feel like I have wasted my 20s. No, you haven't wasted your 20s. And even if you did waste your 20s, your 30s are another opportunity. For the past 10 years, my life has been filled with multiple social humiliations a lot of times. And I don't know what the social humiliations look like, so I don't want to mitigate it. But very often there are situations where like it's really horrible and it sucks for us, but other people would not see it with the level or degree of catastrophe that we see it. Useless education that has not helped me economically succeed. Like education, yes, there might be degrees that you get that don't necessarily get you the economic return that you want, but is it useless? Not necessarily, because I'm sure there are things that you learned that you did benefit. And even if you did, there are a lot of opportunities for other advancements as education. Do you see? It's like when I'm looking at this as someone who's coming from the outside looking in, you can see all the opportunity in it. So I guess whether or not this person sees it, it's like, one, I really, really hope you can get help, because I think you need someone else who is outside of your head helping you point out all of the ways that and patterns of thinking that you have that are actually going to make your depression worse and not better. Two is identify things that are in your locus of control that really are going to just help give you the slightest bit of empowerment, like I can do things. Three is starting to pull out the silver linings in the experiences that you did have. And this is not me romanticizing trauma at all. It's just like, for example, going back to the education things, like what are the things you did learn? And then fourth, like what you're going to be on this earth, hopefully for some time. What are the things that you want to change and how you can go about those? Okay. So yeah. All right, guys, I think I'm going to stop here because that was a really heavy one. So I'm going to just stop sharing. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope this was helpful to you. I will do another series soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, and if you like this video, then please comment below if you're someone who struggles with mental health issues. I know it's not fun. And subscribe for more. Assalamu alaikum.